Allard, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on sustainability and environment in the corporate plan. I'll only be able to scratch the surface of such a huge subject, but I gather that there will be another chance to speak before too long. I would like to say that I have been a committed environmentalist for most of my life, campaigning against many damaging policies. On a domestic note, I garden biodynamically, and so I'm glad to see that the Council intends to reduce harmful chemical spraying. Have any of you made the connection between glyphosate, drying out the soil so that it can't act as a sponge to soak up rain, and flooding? It's also terrible for bee health, and without bees and CO2, all life on Earth will cease. I agree that there is some warming of the climate, but disagree with sloppy science. At the recent Eco Action Network transport meeting, I was astounded to be told that the net zero agenda was based on an assumption that CO2 drives global warming. So we're looking at spending millions of taxpayers' money on an assumption. Any decent scientist will tell you that assumptions are simply not good enough. But then why are they not speaking out? In fact, they are. Some of you have already received a link to the Clintel Declaration by nearly 2,000 scientists, including Nobel laureates, that there is no climate emergency. Why have they not been heard? I would suggest that it's mainly about money. The net zero business being worth over $4 billion a day, a bit like PPE, but on steroids. This sort of money buys a lot of so-called science. The ethical science, which disproves the CO2 and methane link to warming, can be found online if you wish to look. I wonder how many of you did before voting to declare a climate emergency in 2019. We know that Earth's climate has always varied. The early medieval period was cold. The late one, when we grew grapes and sold wine to the French, was warm. The Little Ice Age, when an elephant could walk on the Thames, ended only in 1850, so it's no surprise that we are now experiencing a period of warming. I wonder if you know what net zero looks like. The UN's Agenda 2030 states that from 2030, all flying, shipping, imports, beef and lamb will be phased out. This has already begun with the forcing of farmers off their land, which will then be largely given over to toxic solar panels and wind turbines, neither of which can be recycled, or to China-style robotic super farms. EVs with heavy batteries reliant on cobalt and lithium, mined at devastating environmental and human cost, put more particulates into our lungs than do petrol cars, and like solar panels, they can't be recycled. I suggest that this is greenwashing and virtue signalling at its hypocritical worst.
Can you bring your speech to an end,
And I would ask you all,
Thank you.
Is this a route to potential environmental disaster that we should be actively pursuing? Thank you.
Can I thank you?